Hello students. I am Pallav Darbari. Welcome you all in my YouTube channel, Pallav Darbari Classes. In this video, I will discuss Chapter 1 Macroeconomics Class 12th. This is my second video on the topic Introduction. In this video, I will discuss or emphasize on the meaning of the macroeconomics, scope of the macroeconomics, limitations, scope, importance of the macroeconomics. I will also discuss with you the evaluation of the macroeconomics, and at the end I will discuss with you the classical school of economic thought and the Keynesian school of economic thought as well. Let us see the meaning of the macroeconomics. The term macro has been derived from the Greek word makros, which means large. Thus, macroeconomic is the study and the analysis of study as a whole. Macroeconomic is the study of behavior of large aggregates such as total employment, national product, national income, general price level of the country, etc. The concept of the macroeconomic is being developed when the John Maynard Keynes has written the book in the year 1936, and the name of that particular book is The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. After the publication of this book, the concept of the macroeconomics becomes famous, and the macroeconomics originate. Let us see the scope of the macroeconomics. The concept of the macroeconomic is being used for the determination of employment theory, income theory, theory of price level, theory of growth, etc. Now let us see the characteristics of macroeconomics. The first characteristic of the macroeconomic is it is the study of aggregates. What it means? It means it does not study individual income, rather it study national income. It does not study individual output, rather it study national output. It does not study individual price, rather it study general price level. So here we can say that in the macroeconomic is the study of economy in aggregate terms. So in the macroeconomic we study aggregate, we never study individuals but we study aggregates, the things at the national level. The second characteristic of the national macroeconomic is it ignores individual differences. Macroeconomics does not consider the individual differences of national aggregates. Example, it studies the general price level, not the individual price level. So when we are studying the general price level, we are least bothered about the individual differences, because at the individual level we have to make separate price labels for every individual. So in the case of the macroeconomics, we generate the general price level rather the individual price levels. The second characteristics of the macroeconomic is the theory of economic growth. Macroeconomic studies the problems of economic growth and also the theory of economic growth. So here we have seen the characteristics of macroeconomics. These characteristics are very important one. Now let us see the importance of the macroeconomics that you can see over here. Macroeconomics, it is helpful in understanding the whole economy. It is helpful in formulating the economic policies. It is helpful in the study of growth and development. It is helpful in the development of microeconomics as well. So here we can see that these are the importance of macroeconomics. Now let us see the limitations of the macroeconomics as well. In the case of the macroeconomics, we can see that the excessive generalization of economic principles are there. In the macroeconomics, the differences is totally ignored. Here we are having the problems of heterogeneous groups. It is very common. So these are the limitations of the macroeconomics. From the importance of the macroeconomics, from the limitations of macroeconomics, or from the scope of macroeconomics, hot questions of 1 marks can be framed. In the case of the macroeconomics says that in the economy we are having four sectors. So how many sectors do we have according to the macroeconomics? According to the macroeconomics, we are having four sectors, which are household, firm, government, and external sector, that you can see over here. Let us see the household first. Household refers to a single individual or group of individuals who are consumers of goods and services. Household are also the owners of the factors of production. The household serve the firm, and in consideration they are getting the factor income. So the first sector is the household, which might be the individual or group of individuals who might be the consumers or who gives factor services to the firm in consideration of the factor income. The second sector is the firm. It refers to the economic unit that undertake the production process. They hire the household, and in consideration of the services they make the factor payment to them. The third sector is the government. Similar to the firm, the government also participate in the production process. They employ factors of production from the households and make payment to them in return of their services. The government receives payment from both the firm and the household in the form of taxes or the transfer payment. Next is external sector. This sector deals with the export and the import of goods and services. If a country sells goods to the rest of the world, then it is known as export. On the other hand, if the country purchases goods and services from the rest of the world, it is known as import. The export and the import of goods and services can be by the household, by the firm, by the government. Now let us see the next important thing, how the macroeconomic studies interlinkages among the economic sector. This particular topic, the question can be framed from this particular topic. 1 marks questions at the maximum 3 marks question can be framed from this topic. How the macroeconomic studies the interlinkages among the economic sector. Always remember, macroeconomics not only studies different economic sectors, it means macroeconomics not only studies household, firm, government and rest of the world, but it also studies or focusing the interlinkages between these three sectors. Interlinkages basically implies the relationship or the dependency among these economic sectors. For example, household gets the money from the firm, households get the goods and services from the firm. What the firm will get, let us see. The firm will get the money from the household, and the firm also give the goods and services to the firm. So firms are dependent on the household, and at the same time the household are also dependent on firm. We study this type of the linkages in the macroeconomics. Now let us see the emergence of the macroeconomics. The need for a separate branch of the economics, that is the macroeconomics, was felt inevitable during the period of the Great Depression 1929. In this regard, the Great Depression can be treated as a landmark for the emergence of macroeconomics. Why there is a need arise? Because in the macroeconomics, because before the Great Depression 1929, it is being felt that the market will solve the problems of its own and there is 100% employment. During that time period, there was the classical school of thought only, and they advocate the concept that is supply creates its own demand. But after the Great Depression 1929, the market got flunked. Market was totally unable to solve the problems automatically of its own. It is being seen that the unemployment was prevailing everywhere. So the John Maynard Keynes comes with his ideology of the macroeconomics. He says that the government intervention is needed, and immediately after the Great Depression, another school of economic thought emerged, and that is called Keynesian school of economic thought, that we will study later on in this video. So we have seen what is the reason behind the emergence of the macroeconomics, because the classical school of economic thought got flunked to solve the basic economic problems of the unemployment. Now let us discuss the school of economic thoughts. Before 1929, we were having only one school of economic thought, and that is the classical school of economic thought. This was popularized by the economists like Adam Smith and the David Ricardo. They advocate the concept of laissez-faire economy, that is a free market economy. According to them, the decision is being taken on the basis of the market forces by the private producers, and the role of the government is bare minimum. They should concentrate in the public administration and the defense only, and they feel that there is full employment, and the problem that pops up in the market will be solved by the market forces of its own. They always used to chant that the supply creates its own demand. When I say supply creates its own demand, what it means? It means whatever will be produced, the entire thing will be absorbed. It means that the market will solve of its own. After the 1929, the Keynesian school of thought pops up. Why? Because of the Great Depression of 1929, and the John Maynard Keynes advocate that the role of the government is mandatory for the shorter period to solve the problems which arises, and the role of the government now is not restricted to the public administration and the defense. They have to find out the reason behind the problems, and they have to eliminate the problems completely. So they used to say, dig the earth and fill the pit. It can be asked in 1 marks, elaborate or comment on the slogan, dig the earth and fill the pit. Here the dig the earth and the fill the pit means the government find out the reason behind the problem, that is called dig the earth. Fill the pit means they have to frame the strategies so that the problem should be uprooted completely, that is fill the pit. Explanation can be asked in 1 marks relating to this slogan, which the Keynesian school of thought always chant. Let us see the difference between the classical school of thought and the Keynesian school of thought. Classical economists advocate for free economy, where the resources are fully utilized and the economy automatically reaches to the state of full employment. Keynesian school of thought says that the attainment of the full employment is hypothetical. Full employment cannot be attained. Second difference is these economists were strong proponents of market and did not believe in state intervention. But the Keynesian school of thought says that the state intervention is needed for the shorter period when the market got flung to solve the problem. The third difference is the classical school of thought prevails in the long run, whereas the Keynesian school of thought dominates in the shorter run. The last is this was advocated. The last difference is that this was advocated by the economists such as Adam Smith and the David Ricardo, whereas the Keynesian school of thought was advocated by the economists like John Maynard Keynes. Dear viewers, that's all I have in this video. If you like the video, please spread the video as much as you can. Right now the pandemic is going on, so it's a request, please stay home, stay safe, and above all, don't forget to wear mask. Om Shanti.